Hi, welcome to another episode of Green Your Grow's Green Tips of the Day. So here we are in a lovely July afternoon in Hopland, California at the Solar Living Institute, where we have our 3 demonstration cannabis plants. One of those is in a wicking bed where it's wicking up the moisture from below. It's what we call a sub-irrigated planter, and it's doing extremely well at using a very small amount of water. The 2 others, which I'm most proud of and are doing phenomenal, is a straw bale bed, which we have built inside of a bed using a simple technique known as lasagna gardening, where we lay down different layers of material that's going to slowly decompose and release the nutrients needed to the plant at the time it needs it. For example, as that material starts to compost and decompose and break down, turning into compost, it's going to release nitrogen. So very close to the top of the surface, we have a layer of green grass clippings, which will release nitrogen fairly quickly during the growth stage, the vegetative stage of the plant. So as the plant roots develop a little bit, the nitrogen has been broken down and now can be available to the plant. So then obviously down at the bottom we have fungal foods and an area for the plant to have more of the fungal dominant organisms and calcium and potassium and phosphorus that it would need for final development of flowers. The other one is grown inside of a hugel pit, as we've mentioned before in the previous videos. And a hugel pit is basically a hole in the ground. And this hole in the ground has a ton of benefits. Number 1, it keeps the ground cool and moist. Number 2, we have layers of material in that pit. And at the very bottom we have some old rotting logs. Now these logs are like a living sponge. They hold that moisture and they keep it nice and cool and moist down at the bottom, which keeps the biology healthy throughout the year and allows for a great savings of water. It literally is holding that water in the material until, in the rotting logs and organic material, until the roots can take it up. Or through capillary effect, it moves through the soil and the roots take it up that way. But today I'm here to talk to you about feeding your plants. So you need to go on down to the store and buy yourself some liquid fertilizer, right? You absolutely don't. In reality, nature always provides everything we need. And if you understand what different plants' abilities are, then you can provide that for your cannabis plant. So for example, these are some plantain plants, which are commonly referred to as a weed. And these plantain plants, you've probably seen them before. They have these heads on top of them and these unique looking leaves. They are a dynamic accumulator. That means that they accumulate a lot of minerals like silica and calcium. And so this is a plant that I want to add to my new liquid fertilizer here. But this fertilizer is literally a regenerative fertilizer. And what do I mean by that? I mean that each year this plantain drops more seeds than the plantains that I use. So every year there'll be more plantains available than the year before. This is truly a regenerative model because I'm regenerating the nutrients each year that I'm using in my cannabis food. So why don't we go ahead and put some of this into the blender with some water. So we got some water in here. I don't know, maybe that's 3, maybe 4 plantain plants total. And then I'm going to take the lid here and just go ahead and blend this. Let's see how this turns into a liquid. And now this plantain smoothie, if you will, is chock full of nutrients. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pour it into this bucket over here. And I have some water in the 5-gallon bucket. So basically I'm just making a nutrient brew at this point, high in minerals in this case. And of course, because it's green plant material, it also has some nitrogen available. So let's go ahead and put some more plantain in here. And then I'm going to talk to you about the next plant. We're going to start mixing in some clover. Now why am I going to use clover? Clover is a classic nitrogen fixing plant. Not only does it fix nitrogen in its soil, but when we test these plants, their tissue and their roots, they actually contain higher levels of available nitrogen than most other plants. So legumes are excellent to use in the beginning of your grow cycle when you have more nitrogen requirements in your soil and in your root zone. So let's go ahead again, add some water here to our blender. Blend up some plantain, this time mixed in with some common clover. We also have some white clover here and some rose clover. And let's go ahead and mix this up. Knew that was going to happen sooner or later. now let's go ahead and pour this into our 5-gallon bucket. And our brew is continuing to grow. Now this next stage I'm going to put in a little more clover. You can see there's more clover mixed in with the plantain now. And I'm also going to put in this plant here. This plant, you can see that in the shot, unfortunately the taproot on this plant broke off. But this is a taprooted plant, and many taprooted plants are high in minerals. That's why they've developed the taproot, to seek out minerals in non-fertile or low fertility soils. So in this case, this is a common, I believe this is a common dock, and this is high in minerals. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and chop this up with the hose here, chop this up with the machete, put the hose away, and I'm going to go ahead and use these little pieces of root as a nutrient-dense source for this smoothie. Put them in our smoothie. Boy, that is a tough plant. We need a harder surface here. Always sharpen a machete. Can't sharpen a broken blender. Can't grow fingers back either. Alright, that's probably about as much as this little blender is going to handle. So let's go ahead and blend this and see just how many nutrients we can get into this homemade fertilizer. And the greater the variety of ingredients, the greater the amount of nutrients that you're going to give to the plant, right? It just makes common sense. Time to open it. I hope everyone out there in TV land is enjoying all these examples of what not to do here at Green Your Grow. All right, so getting back to business, let's go ahead and add the rest of our, now getting a little more nutrient dense. So instead of mineral dense, let's look at NPK as nutrients. And let's look at things like magnesium, copper, and sulfur as minerals, right? The nutrients versus minerals. So we got some more plantain. So what's that, everybody? That's mineral dense. So we're going to add some more minerals. Now what's this? This is a plant I bet you're all familiar with. This is chard. But as you can see, this is an old rainbow chard plant. It's got a taproot. What do you think's in that taproot? It's chock full of minerals. It's also chock full of available starches and sugars that the biology in the soil can feed on. So this is a really great food to feed. I'm not going to feed all this to this small little blender, but I sure would like to get some of this root in here. So let's go ahead and chop this root up a little bit, see what we can get. All right, throw all these chunks in there. I'm going to put more water in there this time. That was a bit hard on the blender in the last round. Okay. Good amount of water in there. Let's give it a blend. Now look at that color. Lots of starches, lots of sugars in there. Great food for biology. During the growth cycle of a cannabis plant, the vegetative cycle, you want a soil that's heavy in bacterial species, a bacterial dominant soil. So this is an excellent food for this stage of development. Later in the growth cycle, of course, I would be making homemade fertilizers that were fungal foods and fungal dominant. A great example of a fungal food would be kelp or seaweed, even locally harvested. So what I was hoping for was some comfrey, and I think I had a bucket full of comfrey set over there. I'm not sure where it got placed, but if not, we can go ahead and add the comfrey in the next fertility cycle. All right, so we're going to go ahead and apply this to our plants. So we'll see you in the next video, and I'll show you how we do that. Till next time, don't forget to green your grow.